years, I never really had the idea, why should I be nervous? But then as he repeatedly asked me so many times, then I kind of thought, like, maybe I should be nervous. So that's how it is, I think. It's but later part of my life, I realized that I do feel nervous when Rinpoches are in front of you and I have to be up on the stage and then sing. Then that's where I think that's out of the respect that you have for them. And the awkward feeling was mostly often when I'm on stage and Rinpoches are, the auditoriums are like, you know, this audience are down there. So Rinpoches or the Khenpos, those beings who I respect a lot, if they are like below me, that's, I think, out of the respect that was there, I was feeling nervous. Other than that, I think I'm okay. And even more not, these days, not at all more, nervous, because I'm at an age and a stage of life where I'm actually going through menopause, and the age and stage of life is such that, what the heck? Who cares? Kind of attitude I have. Yeah, so that's, to be very honest, like, if you really want to sing well, then you should really stop thinking about how you sound. Especially when you are singing or chanting prayers. The most important thing is your what do you call it, aspiration, and your clarity of your visualization, and then the bodhicitta practice itself. And then if you have that blessing of having the the comfort in performing the melody, that's even better. But otherwise, I think everybody will be sounding different. If everyone sounds same, then it's boring. No? If I sound like Michael Jackson, what's so important about that? You know, Michael Jackson already exists. But I can sing that same song probably in my own style. So it'll be different. So in puja also, when you're an umze, male voice will have a different tone, female will be having a different tone, and some older female will have a different vocal ability. The younger will be having a different vocal ability. So I don't know if it should be a subject of your concern, much of a concern on how you sound. I mean, before you perform being the umze, then of course, what you should make sure is that you have learned the melody properly from whomever you are learning. And then the person who is teaching you says you're okay, then I think you should be relaxed. I don't know if it makes sense, but then that's how I feel. Yeah, next question.
Do you make up the melodies to your chanting yourself, or does the musical composer make up the melody?
If it is a new composition, yes, the composer does it. Otherwise, of course, our traditional melodies are there. But when you perform the melody, when you know the basic structure of the melody, then according to your vocal ability and your mood and how deeply relaxed you are in it, I think it will make a difference in how beautiful it will sound. The melody will carry your inner feeling, inner state. If you're nervous, melody will definitely carry that nervousness, and that will be making the impact. If you're deeply relaxed inside, melody will carry that impact, that same frequency. I don't know if you would say frequency. Yeah. So, for instance, like in monastery, sometime when the puja is done, the melodies are done very fast. So that's how everybody's just following somebody. But then for me, I do che ma me me she je kando mama sharne kom som chen sana. I like to be relaxed. And in fact, I think that's how I have been trained by Tulku Rinpoche. And I remember Mayumla, I called Mayumla, Chokyi Rinpoche's mother. She was also beautiful. She used to be so excited about doing Chut Puja, and so she used to love to teach me those melodies. She would ask me to be in her room, and then she would come up with different melodies. And then after learning from her, then when Tulku Rinpoche realized that I've been in her room, and he was quite sure that she would teach me something, and then he would say, "What did she teach you today?" And then I would say, "Oh, she taught me this." And then she would say, "No, don't sing like that. You should sing like this." So Mayumla used to have like che ma me me ye she kando ma sharane koim sun chen sana. Sweet, right? And Tulku Rinpoche says, no, don't sing like that. You should sing like this. Che ma me me ye shi jen kando ma sharana kom som chen sana. This is Tulku Rinpoche's style. So, and he would say, you should have modulation in the voice. So, yeah, I'm inspired by him. But a lot of the modern songs that I've started singing after coming out of Nage Gompa, mainly with the aspiration that normal Nepali people who doesn't speak Tibetan, who doesn't understand the Dharma language, from small children to grown-up Nepalis, they don't have easy access to learn Dharma from Rinpoches and so on. I felt that maybe if I can sing some of the teachings in a melodious way with modern composition, then people will get to listen to these teachings, words of wisdom. So those modern compositions were done by professional composers, music composers. That's how I came up with it. Next question.
Given the demands and pressures of being a public figure, what practices have you found most helpful to ground yourself?
Well, the most easiest thing was always to think of Rinpoche, Tulku Rinpoche. He's a teacher, not only an ordinary teacher. He's the teacher's teachers, the Mahaguru, all the gurus of all the other gurus. But yet I've never ever experienced a moment in my life seeing him that he had some arrogance. He was always very humble, very humble. And as you can imagine, though I'm not an academic person, but as I can see from other great masters, regarding him so highly in his practice and his knowledge and realization, he was so humble and so kind, so caring. And that was always the most important thing in my life. Yes, as being a human being, I do get carried away at times when so many people treat me special and when I go out. But then, of course, every time I think of Rinpoche and I feel like someone like him never found a good reason to be arrogant, where would I find? So I used to kind of feel so ashamed of myself. And then it keeps me grounded. So it's natural, I think it gets carried away. But at times I had difficulty differentiating whether it is my ego or self-respect. As being a woman sometime, where I'm very sensitive about gender issue. I have difficulty comfortably accepting that discrimination since very young age. And actually, in fact, that it is the main reason in my life why I became a nun. Because I always found, starting from my own family, I saw my dad, how he used to discriminate. My mom abused my mom, not just emotionally, physically, verbally, and then in the neighborhood similarly. And I was never ever able to accept that at all. But I wasn't able to do anything against it because I'm very young. I'm just a child. But that even continued when I entered Nagigompa. I always had question, why? And in fact, at times I used to be so strongly against that to the point that I would end up taking challenge with the monks to do this kind of arm wrestling as well, which was not a so smart thing to do sometime, but I wouldn't hesitate to do that, just to prove that, look, what makes you strong? Think that you are stronger. And I remember so clearly once I even had so bad argument, almost to a point of like physical fight with one of Rinpoche's attendant who used to do the cooking for Rinpoche in Parping. His name is Nubritashi. He's a little skinny monk. And he knew where to press the button always. So I used to get so provoked by it. And in fact, I used to win at times. By hook or crook, I would try any method. And one day he just said something that was so not nice. Then I cried and I went to Rinpoche. I said, look, Rinpoche, this is not fair. Is it really true that we women, the word came in, the lower birth? That word was so not acceptable for me. When Nubritashi, the monk, he tried to articulate it in a way to make me feel really angry. And then Rinpoche said, don't worry. He just gave me a hug and he says, don't worry. See, it's not true. Do you see the clear word, la ma? Ma? Nima? Pama? See how important it is. In Vajrayana practice, women are, if a man needs to really achieve enlightenment, without women it's not possible. Then that's just pacified my anger, my fire in me. And so that's how I used to be. So at times I have difficulty. Is it really my ego, ignorant ego, that is driving me, or it is something like a self-respect of, demanding respect as a woman. I'm not less than anyone, kind of. At times I have a little bit of I go into defensive mode. So, but then I do question a lot. Am I doing this out of self-respect or ego? Otherwise, I'm okay. And sometimes I tell myself, it's okay. I can get distracted. I can get carried away. But the best part of it is that I'm always able to come back on my track because of Tulku Rinpoche. Yeah.
What advice do you have for youngsters who are willing to study Buddha Dharma for the first time?
When I first decided to become a nun, it was not out of a deep devotion towards Dharma or deep understanding of Dharma. It was simply out of this very strong desire to run away from the pain and the difficulty that I was living when I was a young girl. So, pain, difficulty, suffering, whatever you call it, it exists in everyone, especially certain period of time during the teenage. You go through a lot of that. I think that's the time when you really need help. Is the only thing that can help is Dharma. And that is the sole reason why I also decided to sing modern Nepali songs, with the aspiration that a lot of these young people will be benefited by it, because how I have been able to be benefited by it. Because young people, they think that we are young, we are supposed to have fun in life, we are like go out and hang out and go party and so on. If you ask someone, a young person, to go and listen to teaching, they would probably think that I'm too young now. And especially in this context, I'm talking about Nepali youngsters, in the Nepali society and Tibetan society and so on. But then music is something they always feel attracted to, they will listen to. And if the music is able to carry those words of wisdom, somehow it will reach them, That was the whole idea about it. And it's very, very important. Very, very important. In fact, without Dharma, I think I really would have not been able to see things clearly. I would have had lots and lots of anger issue. I used to be a very unhappy child. I used to be so angry, especially towards men. Because what I experienced during the childhood is a lot of abuses, domestic violence in the neighborhood, in the family. And then, as you can see in the social structure, where the hierarchy system is such that always men are important. In my own family, my two younger brothers were never expected to cook and clean, but whereas I'm the one so easily expected to do all the household work. And if I go out and play, you never know when would my father come and just hold my hair and drag me home and tells me what to do. But then it's never the case with my brothers. They're allowed to play. So I always had that very angry question in my heart, like, why? Why? It's not fair kind of feeling. So even after I entered nunnery, Nagi Gompa, though Tulku Rinpoche was so kind, so kind, so kind, but in the monastic system, I still did see the difference, where the monks are easily, entitled to have higher academic education and become Khenpos and Lopans. And I'm talking about 30 years ago, not nowadays. But then for nuns, they think that only meditation practice and rituals of puja are sufficient for them. That was my assumption, and that's what I was thinking and seeing. It was as if, in Nagi Gompa itself, when we used to have Drupchen, Umze always would be from here. And Chöpen, the main Chöpen, would be always from here. And those those big trumpets were always done by monks, and the gellings were by monks, and very easily assumed that nuns can't do that. Oh no, umzes were done by nuns, yes, but then the rest, always monks. And in fact, I'm the first rebellious nun who said, if it is my turn to be Chöpen, then I will do the Chöpen. And I'm the first Ani Chöpen in Drupchen that I really stood up and said, I'm doing it. Nobody can take that away. And I'm so blessed that I can afford to be in such a character, because I received so much love from Tulku Rinpoche himself. So I was a little bit spoiled, though. I was a little arrogant. So I did that. And even I wanted to have the gyaling and the raktung all to be done by the nuns. And nowadays it's being done. So I used to be someone who always raised question against those kind of things. So it's a gender issue. Gender discrimination is a big issue in my life. And then of course I do realize it's not nice to have that, what do you call it? That in a way it is anger that I still carry against it. But these days at this stage of life, I'm able to express that more in a polite manner or a more subtle way. In those days, I used to be really like straightforward and very ugly about it. But at the same time, I'm so grateful that I had that attitude, because it really saved me until now. I mean, it helped me to remain a nun up until now, because as it is very normal biological thing to be attracted to an opposite sex. But as soon as I feel that, and if I go a little deeper and I would say, oh, these guys are stinky guys. I'm sorry, I don't hate men nowadays, but it always helped me. In fact, I used to ask some of my friends who are married, I said, how can you guys always have this stinky man next to you? I'm sorry. I don't hate men anymore. But of course, on the contrary side, of course, two men really saved my life. One is my father, who treated me like that and helped me to come up with the idea or the plan or the desire to become a nun, you know. And then the other one is Tulku Rinpoche, who really saved my life. I mean, like, I think this might not be from only this lifetime, probably from many lifetime. So, yeah. But sometime it can become a good excuse to make people laugh when I say things like that. But it is true. Earlier stage of my life, I used to think like that. Men are cheaters. Men cannot be trusted. Men are not loyal. Kind of all these things I used to. And that idea helped me to feel like, thank God I'm a nun. Yeah. Please forgive me if it doesn't sound good. But yeah. So any more other questions?
Can you talk a little bit more about the advice Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche and Mayum Kunsang Dechen gave you related to chanting? Also, do you think the Tersar Lujun Chödtun changed over time? If so, how has it changed?
Advice? Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche really helped me to transform my mindset in a very, very subtle and skillful way. He never made me sit down and have a class, especially regarding my father. I used to hate my father. Really, I used to feel like he's the most evil person I have ever come across. I had a lot of anger against him. But then Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, I remember one day, random conversation with Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche, I remember him asking me, how is your father? So we talked about it. And so I came up with all this bad thing about him. And he asked me, do you remember anything good about your dad? Then I said, I had to think. And I said, oh, he worked hard, though. And then, why did he work hard? So I used my mind. I tried to calculate. I said, to make money so that we all can have food. So that was something like, think about something that is also good. And then again, I remember in a very random conversation, he just came up, Choying, would you help someone on street if you find that they're in difficult situation? I said, yes, of course. We're supposed to help, right? I'm Ani. He said, yeah. But even though if you don't know this person? I said, yeah, why not? I should help, right? I should be kind. Ideologically, yeah, so we are, a lot of the time I feel that we are ideologically, we are very aware that we are supposed to be kind. And then even this person is ugly and stinky and in a very bad manner and so on. Would you still help? I said, yes. Then he said, don't you think your father deserves your help first? That really made me think. He deserves your kindness. It's just... And I remember one random conversation. He asked me, do you really think that your father hated you and really treated you bad because he hated you and he enjoyed beating you up and beating your mother? Did you really see him being so happy and, really enjoying and dancing around when he's beating you guys? So I went back, like, what do you call it? Flashback? I had flashbacks. No, I said, because I remember very clearly, he was never happy, though. So somehow he made a very clear point that, okay, as there is a saying that charity begins at home, right? So if I can be kind to someone who I've never come across and I never knew the person, but then there's someone in your life who has done something good in your life, and of course, according to the Buddha's teaching, your parents are the most important being that you really should think of repaying their kindness first. So that way, how he kind of made me think, and slowly the transformation was taking place. Of course, it was not an overnight transformation, but I did think about it, because slowly as I was growing up, I fell in love with Rinpoche more and more. When you love someone, it is a very natural behavior. I can feel that you want to do things that would make the person happy, right? So in my life, that those days, it was always, I was trying to find ways to how I can make Rinpoche happy or make him feel proud of me. So, yeah, so earlier I used to be very naughty, and with the senior nuns, I would not be so friendly and I was disrespectful occasionally. Whenever I felt a little bit dominated or bullied kind of feeling, looked down upon me, then I would become so defensive. And that used to cause problem, because then the senior nuns would go immediately to Tulku Rinpoche and complain about me. And I did see Rinpoche reacting to it in a way, saying that, leave her alone, she's just a kid. And first, when I wasn't much in love with Rinpoche, I used to feel like, wow, now I'm the one. I can do anything kind of feeling. But as I slowly fell in love with Rinpoche, and I was I can sense that I'm looking for ways how I can make him happy and make him feel proud of me. So I kind of found myself responding to the senior nuns in a more respectful way. If I can't show my respect, at least I would shut up. I would not react to their bully, or I don't know if it would be the right word to say bully, but kind of feeling dominated or anything because they are the senior ones, so they are much more in authoritative attitude in front of me, so which I couldn't take it those days, even though I was a kid. So I always looked for ways to find ways that so that they don't go to Rinpoche with complaint about me. But then, of course, anger was still there. So I would go into the forest. In Nagugumpa is in a forest. So I would go into the forest and I would loudly scream out all my anger to the forest and then come back. And so that's how I slowly transformed. And the advice was never really... Tulku Rinpoche never advised me in a way that you are taking classes. I was never given a teaching as in the way of in a traditional way, but in a very unconventional way. I was trained, and he would be very skillful and sensitive about making me understand things. Maybe because he was omniscient, he knew that I was a very injured child. I'm a very wounded child. I remember I'm very scared of dark, during my childhood. And I still carry that trauma. So I used to have really difficulty going out in the night to go to pee. So I would have a pee pot in the room, which sometimes I'm so carried away by running around, jumping around, playing around. I would forget to clean them, throw them away. And that would start stinking. And the senior nuns would go and report and complain to Rinpoche so much to the point that at times Rinpoche had no choice to kind of make me understand what is being done wrong. But he would never scold me directly. So what he always used to do is there's another Ani called Ani Sonam. I don't know if any of you have come across Ani Sonam, the Manangi Ani. He would talk to her saying that, you shouldn't be doing this. So, but then I would get all, yeah. I'm sorry. See, this is the sign of menopause. If anyone has tissue, I would appreciate that. Oh my God. These days, my biggest issue is menopause. So wherever I go, I tell men, please be kind to your women. If she's going through menopause, it's still really tough. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so this is how I've been trained, I should say. Advised or helped, healed, however you put it. Sometimes you listen to advices, which is very intellectually very entertaining, and you ideologically you would agree to it very well, but it's not necessary that many of us will be able to apply that in our life. While you listen to the advices, of course it will sound good and you will think that, oh wow, what a great idea and so on. But until and unless you are able to apply that in your life, I don't know if it really will make sense. So the skillful way Tulku Rinpoche really helped me, it was very impactful. So yeah, I've been able to apply that in life. Yeah. So that's how they advised me or trained me, healed me, however you put it. So, but I never had a class like you're sitting down and hear someone on, throne teaching you. So regarding ritual ceremonies, as you asked me about this, whatever practice you call it, I was never really keen on into so much of ritual practices. So I'm sorry, I won't be able to say anything on that. If, however, whether there has been change or not changes, I don't know. But yeah, the teaching on mind training and practice of meditation and the whole life as Rinpoche lived, how he related to people, how he treated people. That's how I try to be. That has made it very much of the sense in my life. I'm academically not educated, but I do use a lot of my own common sense and doing a lot of self-reflection. And of course, I do nowadays. Those days, as being very young and very distracted and carried away, I wasn't able to really concentrate much on the teaching in a very classical style. But as I'm a very sharp person, and I have the memories of the teachings. So these days, or since last maybe 2 decades, I've been able to. I miss Rinpoche so much to the point at times that I kind of replay all those moments with him. And then I, along with it, the teachings that I have come listen to him, then I reflect on it a lot, and then it makes much more sense now. I think the essence never changed, maybe. Yeah. Any more questions?
Since you have been a strong advocate for and a supporter of girls' education, what are your hopes for their futures? Do you envision them returning to your monastery, or do you hope they will establish their own lives independently?
Well, at the initial stage, I always felt that it was an answer to the very wrong perception that the society carried towards girls and the women. I was always kind of in a mindset to giving an answer to that, to prove that you guys are wrong. But these days, I'm not in that mindset. As the Rumi says, before I was clever, I wanted to change the world. But now I'm wiser, I want to change myself. So it really says correctly about me, how I'm thinking these days. What I really hope is that, the belief and the confidence in the potential that we as women carry, of course, as ever before, very strong in that, very clear about that, and very relaxed about that. But at times, yes, there are moments which make me feel like, oh, how sad it is that the society, people are still unable to, live that or correct that perception towards girls and women in such a way that we have so comfortably think about the men as well, So it should not be a subject to really be focused on, the gender issues. And these days, I'm not interested, or not. It seems like I'm not making much of an effort to let people know, or to prove to the people that, look, we as women can do this too. I'm not interested in that. And I think I'm able to free myself from that attitude as well. And I cannot say 100%, but up to a very higher percent, I'm able to feel relaxed about that. But as a practitioner, of course, as I said earlier, I'm going through menopause, and this experience itself is a really special experience where I feel so much of concern about my other fellow sisters in the lay life who are married and have children, and especially if they are with men who doesn't understand what menopause is and how to handle them, who think that actually they are the victim of their women, rather than being able to come up with a little compassion and develop this sense of understanding that, oh, she's going through a difficult time. I should help. I should be there to be able to help her feel more comfortable. Of course, biologically, you cannot do anything to, free her from all these symptoms. But at least your understanding and that tolerance or the patience or sense of care, I'm quite sure that they will be feeling so less affected by these symptoms, If nowadays, this is my subject. Wherever I go, I really talk about menopause. If I come across young people, I tell them, look, try to be kind to your mother. Because when your mother is suffering, your father will definitely suffer. Because going through menopause is like, women become like, don't give me any more shits kind of thing. So, yeah, there will be like, men will suffer more. Because women will lose their patience and tolerance level to ground zero. And I really experienced that. And thanks to Dharma practice and the teachings all from Rinpoche, I have been able to be aware of what I'm going through, but definitely it's so not comfortable. At times I had like palpitations, and I feel like I can't breathe. What's wrong with me? Kind of feeling. And then, of course, I'm not scared though, but I'm not comfortable. So and then the sweet sleep that I used to have is gone. What's wrong with me? Kind of feeling at times. But then, of course, I am aware what I'm going through. But then many of the other sisters, they're not aware what they're going through and not able to control their emotions, what they're going through. So for me, these days, the best healing way to deal with my menopause has been going up to the mountain in Yolmo. So blessing in disguise. So please, everyone, be kind to those ladies who are going through menopause or perimenopause state. Hormonal fluctuation is very tough to deal with. Yeah. So any other questions?
Anila, what is the value of a Buddhist education for young girls and women?
I think it gives the best logic to your experiences in life. It really, you are able to give logic in every experience and find way to perceive it correctly. You are able to use your common sense rather than what you've been told or brainwashed to think or behave like. As self-awareness, I think Buddha's teaching is really gonna, in a very simple form, helps you to bring more into use your common sense, really. And kindness, of course, is the baseline, fundamental thing in it. But then, yeah, if you don't, no matter how much of knowledge you carry, but if you're not able to use them in your life with your common sense, I think it's just up here. You just end up becoming an intellectual entertainer. That's all. So a lot of the time, I feel that way. You develop your intellectual capacity in a way that you think that, oh, I know this. I'm a double major in this. I'm double major in that. I'm this and that. I'm an expert on this and that, whatever you call it. But then, until and unless you are able to say, oh, poor guy, he's going through tough time. Maybe he has his own stories behind it. Instead of saying like, oh, terrible, this guy is terrible, evil, he should be punished or that. Instead of that, I think Dharma knowledge will help you to say, oh, poor guy. What could be his story? Everyone has a story behind any behavior they have, particular behavior they carry, or how they react in their life towards different experiences or with different people. So similarly, coming to that point, I want to share with you that as Rinpoche helped me to understand and not to really think about my father a lot. And then slowly he made me realize, like, maybe he helped me to have the courage to think, like, maybe I should help him. I should try to help him. In that effort that I made in finding ways to help him, I realized that he had a very traumatic childhood. And it was the trauma that he was reliving, through which me and my mother and the whole family suffered. So when I realized that and I came across his story during his childhood, then I really felt so sorry for him. So that that reduced the strength of my anger towards him and then the hatred towards him. And I felt sorry for him. And then I was trying to, every time I felt sorry for him, I was always trying to find a way to compensate his pain or difficulty. I was like, slowly my relationship with my father transformed. We both fell in love with each other, and he became my child and I became his mother. So by the time he left his physical body, I was really like his mother. And just the day before he stopped breathing in the hospital, he took my hand and he put it on his forehead and said, "I'm a very lucky man. I have a daughter like you who became my mother." And so that was our last very serious conversation. So So that's the benefit of Dharma knowledge, having a great teacher in life.
Thank you so much for sharing and recollecting and being so honest with us. There are no more questions on this paper, but I would like to open it up to the audience if anyone has any questions for Anila.
Okay.
Anila, thank you very much for your time and your really open sharing this afternoon. I know you say this is not one of your burning issues anymore, but even then I feel uncomfortable calling you Ani because, and how do you feel about that? This
Calling me Ani?
Yeah, this kind of, as opposed to Jetson or,
no.
Geshima or something like that, How do you feel about this?
This is where I shared earlier, Tulku Rinpoche as he being the master of the masters, right? He was the most humble being I've ever come across in my life. In fact, on the contrary, we were so arrogant of being student of Tulku Rinpoche. We had more arrogance than him. We thought like Tulku Rinpoche is the master who received, even 16 Kamapa receiving initiation from him and, holding the greatest lineage and so on. We had that. But he never, ever. And he was never, ever into titles or anything like that. So I guess the best benefit of being raised by him, I think at least I'm blessed with that attitude. I'm not insecure about titles, really. It's not about that. I think earlier when I was younger, yes, when man is seated up and women are seated down, that used to be a subject for me to see that discrimination is being made. When I come across such an attitude in people, really living by it, then I have like, But for myself, I mean, I never really worked for any titles. I mean, in fact, it's true that I don't have the qualification to carry any titles because I have not finished my 3-year retreat. I have not done any Shedra studies, Pecha studies. Only thing is that, of course, right, these days, as being a singer, I do, I mean, it's just a byproduct thing. Nowadays, I'm famous. Come on. I don't need to be insecure of those titles at all. Yeah.
My question is, when we go to practice compassion, almost of all the Bodhicitta training tests mention like we have to treat all the sentient beings like a mother, and I find it's very difficult for me to relate it that because I'm not a mother. So when we go to visualizing like treating all sentient beings like a mother, we often have lots of obstacles and difficulties. So, you know, in today's society, there are many young women who choose to be a singer or not have children. So do you think that by doing, I mean, as this kind of woman, we had this would have helped us to, sorry. I mean, be a single, like choose no have kids will be obstacle to cultivated to great compassion. So,
Well, I think I kind of sort of understood what you're trying to ask me. I think being kind is a very innate quality we are born as a human being. I think that is not a subject like somebody else has to, transplant in us. We already have that, whether maybe we don't notice it. But in our behavior, when we try to be humble, or when not try to be humble, when we are kind, in speaking politely to someone or trying to make a very kind and respectful approach to someone, it is all always there. Your kindness or compassion is there, but then up to what extent is another question. And going out and only helping those who are sick and hungry and poor in difficulty, I don't think it's always that, even though it is pretty much categorized as a practice of compassion towards. But then in your own personal day-to-day life, how you connect or to people, how you socialize, even in the classroom between your classmates, or between how you are able to relate to your teacher with the gratitude itself is another form of compassion. Without compassion, I think a sense of gratitude is impossible. So it is already there. But of course, as for your very direct question is whether you can feel like a mother, I don't know. I think it is there already in us. Without that, you won't be able to smile at all, really. And in these days, of course, it is true that we do lack opportunity to express that kind of express or practice that kind of love as a mother and child connection more and more. These days, we're not having the opportunity, of course, because of this kind of lifestyle. We're very private lifestyle. And I did come across a realization with some people that sometimes when you do lack that very nourishing emotional connection with people, or that kind of a conversation or a connection, people do get deprived of that nourishment. Sometimes when we lack the nourishment from vitamins, minerals, our physical bodies feel it. But similarly, it is so important to have that kind of emotional nourishment in us. And in order to have that without compassion and kindness, I think it's impossible, really impossible. And even, the stress hormone that nowadays is going up and up is because of that, I feel. When you are with a friend with whom you are able to share and laugh and, like maybe it doesn't make sense, but if you can just laugh it out, make silly jokes, or maybe just even when you're young, you make funny jokes or about other people or criticize someone and then laugh about it. Maybe these are very healthy things, I feel, because you're connecting to people, what they're doing. And unlike these days, we are all doing all the time in mobile. So don't worry. I think you're in, Rangjung Ishi Institute to really understand what kindness and compassion, how to practice it. And so I think you're in a safe place. You're in it. So you don't need to worry. And of course, above all is having teacher like Chogyam Rinpoche himself. So he is the ocean of love and compassion. So look at him. So when I was young, I used to feel like, as I was more and more falling in love with him, I used to feel like, oh, I wish I can be like him. So that was the effort. A lot of the time, very subconsciously, as he's always in my mind, my heart. You want to be like him. So different ways that he does things. So I think I kind of have that pattern in me, wanting to do, like, for instance, like the very small example is like I have now built a small retreat cabin in Yolmo. And I remember so clearly how Rinpoche always loved to have this big window, glass window. And I made sure I had that big window in my retreat room. I made 20 people carry that 200 kilos of glass, one piece glass up to the mountain, 7 hours drive, and then maybe 6 hours walk into the mountain. So that kind of thing, like little things that you want to copy him. So that is the external copying thing. But internally, of course, as he's highly realized, being the way he is so kind and compassionate to people. I mean, whatever little bit of a goodness that I try to live by is all because of his blessing, the way he lived. I mean.
We have time for one more question. Yeah.
Someone else. Two questions.
Don't worry.
Okay, and this one. My question. Oh, my question is it working?
I don't know. Switch it on.
Yeah, my question is very particular. So, I've heard from Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche's student that Mayumla used to do a very particular melody for the Shakyamuni Buddha practice. I don't know if you've ever received transmission for that, because when I heard that, I just really wanted to learn that. The treasure of blessing.
I don't remember any particular melody to that Shakyamuni Buddha.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
So I was just wondering, are you passing on the chantings that you've learned to other disciples? And also, if you would end this by blessing us with a short chant.
Well, I don't know. I don't think I'm qualified to teach anyone. And I think if whoever wants to learn, I think it's easy. They can just listen to my tapes and then learn the melody. But I don't think that I would like to have students and make myself a guru and so on. I think I'm too lazy for that responsibility. And then, of course, I don't want to make a fool out of myself. It's not an easy thing to be a guru, really. Having seen, I mean, not that I'm trying to say that I have a choice not to be a guru, but I'm not qualified to be a guru at all. That's very clear in my life. But for someone who is a guru, it's not an easy life, I can see. As you all can probably see, how Chogyam Rinpoche doesn't even have enough proper time to eat. So, he's on call all the time, like a doctor. Yeah, so what shall I sing?
Compassion.
Okay. Namo Ratnatraya Namo Arya Tara Sagaram Berosa Bhyuharajaya Tathangataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Namo Sarvatathangate Arahate Samyak Sambuddhibhyo Namo Arya Avalokente Shvaraya Bodhisatoya Mahasatoya Mahakarunikaya Tadyantahum Daradara Dire Dire Doro Doro Ite Tsale Tsale Pratsale Pratsale Kusume Kusumavari Ilimene Chitanzulam Mapana Yesoha.
Thank you very much for that, Anila. That was very beautiful, very touching, all of the stories that you were telling us about the questions that you answered. So I'd like to thank you once again. Thank you
My
very
pleasure.
much visiting us at RYI. Anila is coming from China and tomorrow she's leaving for Malaysia. So she's really gone out of her way instead of
Jet
taking
set.
a rest. Yeah, she has come to speak
I was
with us. So
in
thank you
Kenya
so much.
as well, actually.
Hmm.
Kenya concert, came back, and the next day China, and came back, and now going to China, Malaysia, coming back, going to Cambodia. So I'm zigzag. Yeah, but I want to say I deeply rejoice all of you studying Dharma here. I think I don't need to really be someone to let you know what you should do, but I think at least don't just keep it here. Keep it here. Balance of both here and here. Otherwise, you'll just become an intellectual entertainer. I don't know if that would make a lot of money either. So better become a musical entertainer rather than intellectual Dharma entertainer. So, thank you. My pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Let's see you. Sorry for being so emotional.
No, it made it even more special.
Welcome to China.
I just came back from China.
In China, this number means I love you.
Oh,
So my friend love you very much.
oh, I received so much love from China. In fact, too much to the point that it's making me suffer. You're also
She
from
would
China?
like to offer Father to Ani, please, let's make a line here.
To ask you a question about devotion, but I've answered that. I just was this secretary?
Bye bye. Thank you all.
What is